Hello, welcome to another video. My name is Kaylee. If you're new here, I use this channel to talk all about what intentional living looks like for me. And my hope with this channel is that maybe you'll find some ways that you can add intentionality into your life as well. Today, I'm taking you to a couple of my favorite bookstores in Leiden, in the Netherlands. Obviously, I'm not there right now, but we did film while we were there, and I have a book haul for you. But first, I just wanted to talk about why these two are my favorite and why we try to hit them up every time we come to the Netherlands. The first one is De Slegte. They have a couple new books as well intermingled with the used books, but their prices are very good most of the time. I did pay quite a lot for a book that I'll tell you why I purchased it when I get to it, but it was a higher price than I anticipated for this book. However, most of the time their prices are very, very good, and it's definitely like a hunting for the books that you want spot. But it's an easier hunt because there are specific sections with English books versus the entire store being English books, and that I am grateful for from a time perspective. So the books that we got at the first bookstore that we went to they both die at the end with a very different cover than you typically see. If you watched my haul of the books, of getting like 15 plus books for under $35, I mentioned this book that we picked up at the library. Jonathan, my husband, loved it so much, he wanted to buy it. And this is a very different cover than we have in the States. I'm sure you might be able to get it, but typically the European releases have special covers, and this was one of them. So he found this and wanted to pick this up. When I asked him why it was a book that he wanted to own, he said that it was because it made him cry. It made him tear up at the end. So I'm excited to read this. I didn't get a chance to read it before we left through the library, so now it's on our bookshelves forever, and it's just added to my physical TBR. The book that I got that I said was a little bit pricier than I wanted it to be, but I'm very glad that I found it, is Still Me by Jojo Moyes. I've read this book. I owned this book, but I owned the hardback, and I actually have the other two in the series, Me Before You and After You, in paperback editions. And Jonathan actually bought me Still Me at the Atlanta airport when he was coming to visit me back in 2018, when he was going to visit me in the Netherlands. And I am so grateful for him bringing that to me. However, because I owned these two in paperback, I really also wanted to have this one in paperback, and it's the same size, it's the same like publisher. I'm very happy to have this set now match. And now they've got a special spot on my bookshelf because they all are cohesive together. These books I mentioned also in that same video of like library books and secondhand books that we purchased. And I mentioned that I couldn't believe that I had gotten rid of these because I love them so much. And the reason is actually because I had the first two paperback, couldn't find the paperback of the third one anywhere. And so I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna get rid of these two books, and I have regretted it literally every day since. So what did I find in this bookstore? The first two books of the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. I adore Holly Black's writing, and this series specifically I'm a big fan of. You'll notice that it's only the first and the second one again. They only had the first and the second one. At first, I only saw this one, and then I could see that there were books behind where this one was, and so I moved those out of the way and found this one. And so then I started moving all the books on the shelves. I put them back, but moving all of them to see if the third one was maybe hiding somewhere, and it wasn't. So I just got the first and the second one again but we'll revisit that in a moment. And then the final book that I got is one that I have not read. I honestly don't know if I have a huge interest in reading. I probably will read it now that I own it, but I adore the movies, both versions of the movies. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I love all of the movies that have come out about Jane Austen's books. I don't know that I've read any of her books. And it's so funny because I was looking at this and I was looking at the back of it and I just looked at the ending and I was like, surely that can't be the end of this book. But it is. It is. So I do want to read it just because I think it'll be quite interesting to read something that I do really like the franchise that has been built around it. But the other reason that this book is very special is a couple of things. One, I literally just found this while flipping through it. It has some photos of Parisian headdresses or some drawings, and also of a traveling coach. And I'm sure that there are probably more if there are those, but those are the only ones that I've... Oh, here's one. Picture of the encampment at Brighton. I'm sure I'll know more about that if I read this. But the real reason that I was drawn to this book specifically and this edition of this book is that it is a hardback. And I really like the color green. It's green with gold, which I love. But what I loved even more is that it was printed on a printing press rather than just printed. And it was printed in Great Britain at the University of Oxford and by Vivian Ridler. So it even tells you who printed it. And you can tell that it was printed on a printing press versus printed on like a printer. And so I'm very excited to have this. I don't think I ever would have purchased like a new version of this or a new printing of this. I will probably get around to reading it at some point. Honestly, I'll probably read it on my Kindle through the library because I do not want to mess up this book at all. But this was the final thing that we picked up at the first bookstore that we went to. What I love about these bookstores is that they are right across the street from each other. So we are going to travel across the street and go to the Mayflower bookstore. Nearly all of these books are in English. I think there is a very small selection that are in Dutch, but for the majority, they are in English. I went to this bookstore for the first time on my last trip there in 2024. And when I was there, that is the first time that I had found a full trilogy of Robin Hobb books. I am really wanting to dive into Robin Hobb. I have heard great things. I've heard not great things. But for some reason, I am super drawn to want to start her books. However, I have not been able to find them anywhere. Anywhere. Yes, I could buy them on Kindle. I'm trying to not. But I think I might have to, because even though we went to the Mayflower, and last time I was there, they actually had an old, like, first printing run of her first trilogy, and I didn't pick it up because I wouldn't have had space in my luggage for them, which is so sad. So then I went and I was like, okay, this is the place that I found them before. I am sure going to find some Robin Hobb books when I go. And I did. I found an entire shelf of Robin Hobb books, and not even one of the trilogies was complete. They only had one or two books of each trilogy or series in her universe. And I was so sad. And I didn't dare pick them up because I haven't been able to find them anywhere else. And so I would hate to always have an incomplete set. We spent a lot of time in here. It is so big. It is so big. There's so many different sections, and it is such a fun thing to do, to just walk through the whole thing, even if you don't look at all of the different sections. But we did end up getting 3 books from the Mayflower. Jonathan got the second book, to They Both Die at the End, the first to die at the end. This is the prequel to They Both Die at the End. And I, you can tell that I am not the one that wanted to buy these because they are two very different sizes. And I was like, Jonathan, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I have such a vision for what I want my bookshelves to look like. And let me tell you, it is not mismatched sizes of books. But he made a good point that he didn't know if he would be able to find a cover like this here in the States of this one. So we got it. And they do look very cool. I just wish they were the same size. This seems to be happening a lot, specifically with European editions. I haven't seen it as much in the States, of books coming out in a series of books, very different sizes. Like all of a sudden they have lengthened the way that they're printing books, and I'm not a fan. This is like my preferred size of paperback. This is a little too big, but I am excited to read both of these. I just wish they were the same size, but it's fine. Jonathan also really wanted to find a Ready Player One that didn't have the movie poster as the cover. So we found this one. It does have the sticker that says like, now a major motion picture directed by Spielberg, but it is not the movie poster. So this is the type of edition that he wanted. He found it at the Mayflower for a really good price also. And so he picked up that one. And then because I found the first two Holly Black books at the first bookstore, I was like, I am just holding out faith that the third one will be across the street at the Mayflower. So I went to the section where Holly Black's books would be, and there was exactly one Holly Black book, and it was The Queen of Nothing. So I now have the full trilogy, and I'm thrilled. They're all the same size. They are all the same like edition. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So I can't wait to reread these. Jonathan is also really excited to read them. And then I need to pick up the continuation of the Folk of the Air series. I think it's called The Stolen Heir and The Prisoner's Throne are a duology. And then How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. I've read already through the library, but it's beautiful and I do really want to own it. So I will keep my eye out at secondhand stores for those books. But for now, I'm so happy to have this complete and in my hands. I cannot believe that the only Holly Black book they had at the Mayflower was The Queen of Nothing. It was literally just this. I found the first two across the street and then the third one. So those are all of the books that we purchased at these two bookstores. But we did go to one other bookstore that we didn't film. It's called Vandermeer. I don't remember what it's called, but it's in the city where my best friend lives. And so we went there with her and her daughter. And so I just didn't want to film while we were in there. It's beautiful though. I kind of wish we had gone back just to get some footage because it's a gorgeous bookstore. It has all of these little nooks where you can go and sit and work or read. And they have a cafe so you can grab a coffee or a tea and like a pastry and go and sit. And in the section with the most English books, they've got like a window seat, like the seat runs the length of the window and then it's piled high with pillows. And it's so cozy and I love it there so much. And I almost purchased One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig there, but they didn't have the second one. And I don't want to be in a position where I have a specific cover of that book that I can't get unless I find the second one in the Netherlands. So I didn't end up picking it up, but that duology, One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns, is one that I would like to own. But instead, I just picked up one book, one small book, but it is very pretty. It is this, The Complete Poems of Emily Dickinson. I have wanted some Emily Dickinson poetry for a very long time. I love her so much, but it's something that I really wanted to find secondhand. And this store is not secondhand, it's just an independent bookstore. But when I saw how beautiful this was and I opened it and I was like, okay, let me just, read some of them and see if this is something that I feel like I can continue to wait on, or if I should just go ahead and buy this beautiful edition of her complete poems. And I read one. It made me cry while I was sitting there in the bookstore. And I was like, okay, we're buying this today. And it was so cheap. It was like €8.50. And it's gorgeous. This gold foil also on the bind here. So I'm very happy with this purchase. And then this isn't technically a bookstore, but my friend that I love and adore and that we stay with there has tons of books. And she was rearranging some books on her shelf to make room for some new books that she had purchased. And she was like, hey, do you want this? Do you want this? So we took 2 books from her bookshelves. This one, Jonathan really wanted. I will probably read it also. I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm willing to give it a go. It's called Song of Silver Flame Like Night. And I haven't heard about this book. I haven't heard much about this author either. She also wrote the Blood Air trilogy. I don't know if I've seen anything about that. It was a free book. Jonathan really wanted it, so we made room for it in the suitcase and it came home. The other one is this beautiful edition of The Secret Garden. There's also a little fox on the back. I don't know if I've read The Secret Garden, but it is a movie that I adored as a child. I watched it so many times, and I just happened to watch it on the plane to the Netherlands because I hadn't seen it in so long. I had been wanting to watch it here at home, but I couldn't find it anywhere on a streaming platform. So I watched it on the plane, and I had even remembered the sounds of that movie. Like at one point she's going out to not the secret garden, but the gardens of this place that she's living. And I was like, oh, her feet are gonna scrape against the pavement and it's gonna, like, the certain sound that it made, I had registered in my brain. I don't know. It was very odd what I remembered. I remembered every bit of that movie as it was playing. And then I looked for a copy of The Secret Garden at both bookstores. I did find one, but I hated the cover. It was very cartoonish and like a kid drew. I don't know. I'm sure it's for someone. It's not for me, and that's not how I picture that book existing in my head. I don't know if that makes any sense. If you're a book reader and you want to own a physical book of something, then you'll probably understand. But then Christina pulled this off of her shelf and I was like, that's the cover that I would want. And she goes, okay, great, here, you can take it. I've already read it and I can just order another one off of Bowl, which is kind of like a version of Amazon over there, but different. And so she gave this to me and I'm very happy to have it on my shelf. We were hoping to find some Robin Hobb. We did, but not the full series. Jonathan was hoping to find the last book of the trilogy of the Shannara Chronicles. We did not find any Terry Brooks. That's not true. There were a couple of Terry Brooks books, but it was not the one or the edition that he's looking for specifically. We didn't pick up those, but we did get all of the books that I showed you. There were a couple other books that I was hoping to find, but I probably would have had to get them from either online or at the bookstore in the city where my friend lives because they're newer books and to find them secondhand is going to be a little bit harder. But that just means we wait and we read some of the physical books that we have here, because now 5 of the books that we bought I've already read, 5 out of 11. But that means that 6 have just been added to my physical TBR, and my physical TBR was already really big. So I need to start reading, and I'm gonna do that now because it started to rain outside. It's the perfect time to sit and grab a cup of tea and read a book. So I'm gonna go do just that. Until next time.